Hello, and once again, thank you for joining us on the P.R.O Show. My name is Bess Gamble Williams, and this is episode 3. This is going to be a unique episode because it's still honoring those in our lives during Black History Month 2022. So this particular episode, we're going to feature ordinary icons, people who come into your lives that leave value with you. And I must say, some of the people that have come through my life in Rose Hill have been unique, have been extraordinary, and they left a very valuable imprint on my life and my psyche. One of the first people I want to speak about is my babysitter. Other than my parents and all of my relatives, the one person that helped shape my life was my babysitters. And the one I remember the most and the most fun of all was Juanita Murphy. Juanita lived directly in front of me in Rose Hill in Stevens Court. So whenever my mother had to be somewhere or my parents had to be gone, they just holler out the window or holler, go down and knock on the door. Juanita, need you to watch the kids? Okay, no problem. Because in our village, there were babysitters everywhere. Right next door, I had Benny Ruth Griffin. We had Juanita, another Juanita Griffin. So those are the things that we loved, and those are the people that we cherish. They show you how to dance, they show how you do things. Next, one of the people I wanted to talk about that came through that I love too was a police officer, a kind gentleman named Mr. Norris Cooley. He was the first black police officer, I believe, in Texarkana, but he was also a star football player. Most people don't know that, but because my mother and him went to Dunbar High School together, they became very, very good friends. And whenever he rolled through the neighborhood in his beautiful police car, he'd make sure to stop, and he'd always let me press the horn. Another person that you may not realize is a very, very iconic figure in our neighborhood is Mr. Vernon Goodlow. Mr. Goodlow was well known by everyone and loved by many, including my family. And he's one of the people who helped rescue my Aunt Jesselyn Gray when there was a white mob that tried to stop her from entering college at Texarkana College on those grounds. It was her father with his red top cab that came in and took them away. Mr. Goodlow was also a very well-known photographer. Look at the beautiful pictures that he took. One of them, you might even see a couple of them on the steps of Stevens Court in the administration building. But he had many photographers, photographs that he took out there, and there were many photographers around, but he was the one that everyone went to. He was well known. We also had a man named Frank Jake's Band. Now, you could always hear it every Friday and Saturday night. I don't care where you were and what you were doing. If you went to Stevenson Courts, you'd hear the drums and you'd hear the band playing and you'd hear the jukebox going if he wasn't there yet. But there was always something going on in Stevens Courts in Rose Hill. Then you got one of the ladies that helped develop me as well when I was learning. And in kindergarten, Mrs. Jones Kindergarten was the largest African-American school in Rose Hill, even though she lived on 13th Street. As a matter of fact, she lived right across the street from Mr. Goodlow, I believe. But all of us lived together, and those are the places we went regularly as children to learn. Now, coincidentally, my hairdresser, I believe, lived right next door to her, and her name was Dolly Rose. Miss Rose was the only one my mom would allow on my head other than my mother, because my mother did hair as well. But when she didn't have time, she sent to Miss Rose. And I got to tell you, during that time, I can say that hair only cost something like $1.25, maybe $2 if they press it real hard and curl it. But me as the tomboy that I was, I usually sweated it back in 2 days. But those are some lovely memories that I wanted to make sure that you realize that these are people that made our community hum, make it just have this beautiful flow of love always there. Then you had Basil Hurd. Now, most of you probably knew Mr. Hurd. Mr. Hurd was well known. He's also a Vietnam veteran. Mr. Hurd, now he had a beard always. Every time I see him, he had a beard. And I don't know why. It just always, it just did something to me. But the man was smart. He was a genius. If anyone lived in Rose Hill and had any type of mural on their business or any type of signs, Mr. Hurd is the one that did it. He's the only one anyone would trust to have his paintings in that neighborhood. He was very well known, so much so that white people came into our neighborhood to get him to come out and go downtown and do some of their murals and some of their paintings. He was very gifted. Then you have a lady that is very good friends with my mother, Mrs. Rosalie Walls. We call her Miss Dolly Walls. You may not know this important fact, but we used to have a Barker store right off of New Boston Road. And she was the first black cashier that they ever hired. No one would know that, but it was a big deal. Big deal in that day because, we were still dealing with discrimination and segregation. And then you had Dr. Jameson, my first physician, probably a first for many of you that were in Rose Hill. He has a famous landmark historical building named after him that still stands to this day, downtown. Many people have tried to purchase that building, but it's very special to us because that was where all of the professional people, the doctors, the nurses, the lawyers, they were in that building. And we never had to leave out of that. That was our Wall Street. Our Black Wall Street was in the Jameson building. And all of them were very well qualified. I want to leave you with one of the more famous women that is admired still to this day. And she made a breakthrough as one of the first top black models to ever grace the runway of Paris, France. And that was Dorothy Tiles. Mrs. Tiles was the first one to achieve that. She's a trailblazer, and she's from Texarkana, Texas. She's a Dunbar graduate. You never know how many magnificent people, how many great people have come from this region. But we're here, and there are many more we're going to share with you because Texarkana is loaded with talent. I should know. My mother was one of them. We'll see you next time on our next episode where it's going to be Women's History Month, and we're going to talk about other courageous women, other women that were the first to do something in this town and achieve some type of recognition for their efforts and for their talents. I want to thank all of you for joining us once again, and remember, come to the P.R.O. Show, where we focus on you. Take care.